Hey everyone, Dana here for a late night fluffing session. Sounds kind of funny. I'm here with Love Sola Flowers, and we are doing a series on how to make Sola flowers perfect. So as we know, Sola flowers are handmade, and that means that they, can have a couple little things that you could fix up to make them perfect once they arrive. Some are more fragile than others, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of those fragile flowers tonight and how to fluff them. Our first night we did fluffing regular flowers, just if they happen to get a little smushed in transport. We talked about trimming and plucking petals that maybe have a little bit of a crack or just the edge a little bit or something like that. How to do those. And then tonight we're just going to talk about how to fluff flowers that have curled edges, because if you watched our fluffing video, you usually have to spray down your flower with water or while you're dyeing them, which would mean you'd be dunking them in water. But the curled petaled flowers, there we go, they're a little trickier because you can't just hose them down and get them wet. So we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Just want to remind you that Love Sola Flowers is having a 50% off sale. The code is SAVE50, and that's on regular Sola flowers. The Fifth Avenue and the filler is 20% off, and you don't need a code for those. So that is what we've got going on there. So I just got a couple flowers here, and I'm going to just show you how to make them perfect. Again, most of the time I don't touch my flowers, even if they're a little bit, imperfect. I like them that way. I think they look more realistic. But if in transport, they're a little squishier than usual or something like that, sometimes even those fragile stickers don't do much to the postal service, and so your boxes get a little smushed or whatever. But we're going to talk about that. So there's a few things. So this is just a bowl of water, and I have Q-tips, and then I have some flowers. So let me start with the easier kind, okay? So if you have a flower, and again, I probably wouldn't do anything, especially if I'm putting this in a bouquet, because once you put them in a bouquet, it really doesn't matter. You'll be pushing all your petals in. But let's just say you need it to be perfect before you put it into something. So as you can see, this one little petal, he's a little bit out more than the other ones. And so these are curled edges, and you can't just dip this, otherwise it will lose its shape. So what I do for petals like this, so if it's a petal on the outside and you're wanting it to go inside, I actually use my fingers. So I'm going to dip my fingers in the water, and I'm just going to wet the bottom where the non-curled part is. And you can get that nice and wet, and just keep pressing it down, okay? So this is, again, if you're wanting your petal to be in more, okay? So as you can see, let me hold it from here, it's in, okay? So let me see if there's another one. Yeah, like this one too. One petal is a little rogue there. So all I would do is I'm gonna hold it down where I want it to be, and I'm gonna wet my fingers. So my comments have been a little crazy here. Okay, I'm gonna wet my fingers, and I'm just gonna tap the petal again at the base of it, not where it's curled, because obviously that's why we're not dipping it or spraying it. Okay, so there we go. And then once it's dry too, it'll stay. Obviously once it's wet, it's a little bit flexible, so it'll have to dry into spot. Okay, now let me talk about, I'll use the same flower, ones that are smushed that you actually need them to like open up as opposed to squeeze in if you need them open up. So this one just was a little bit oblong shape because of, traveling. So I'm going to take a Q-tip, and I'm going to wet it. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull back the petal, and we're going to wet in at the base. Again, I'm avoiding the curl because that's the whole point of not just spritzing these. And I'm going to go around, and I'm going to take each petal, and as I wet the petals, they become moldable, okay? So I can use it to open it up, and we're going to get this flower nice and round as opposed to a little bit oblong. And again, sorry, can you see this? I'm just taking my Q-tip, and I'm going down at the base, and I'm wetting it enough to be able to shape it, okay? Pulling it back, getting it wet. You can use your fingers to do this too, but I find it easier to get in there. Oh, I'm so itchy lately. To get down in there if we can use a Q-tip or a paintbrush. A lot of people use paintbrushes. Okay, I'm gonna go this side now. Again, I'm just peeling it back and I'm avoiding getting the curled parts wet. Okay. There we go. So it also opened it up too. Now this side's a little out, so I'm gonna do the reverse. I'm gonna wet the outside and fold it in. And now that those centers are wet, we can mold it how we want to. Okay, so that's actually, I opened it up more just so you can see that you're not only needing to, you don't have to just reshape it, you could actually fluff it out. Okay, so do you see how, and I could do it more. I mean, I can keep going around and around. As long as you do the insides wet, they'll be flexible to move. So do you see how that's nice and round now? Okay. All right, we'll do one more and I'll do the bird rose next. And again, it's one side is a little flat. So we talk about how to kind of open it up without damaging the curled edges. Okay. Last one, I'm gonna use a different Q-tip because that tip of it is a little bit fluffy now. Okay, so same thing, okay? I'm gonna peel back the petal. I'm gonna go to the base. I'm gonna get it nice and wet. And I'm gonna kind of push against it and mold it in. Sorry, I didn't show you the before really. Let me just show you how it's a little bit smushed, a little bit misshapen. And again, usually when I put these in things, it'll make it shaped by pushing at things. But as you can see, it's a little not round. So I'm going to make this the perfect shape by fluffing these curled edges flowers by putting the water directly at the base of the petal as opposed to touching the curl. Okay. And again, if you're needing the outside petals to come in, you can just use your finger to mold those, okay? So let's see. Let me see which petal needs to be in which direction. So this one needs a little bit of water. And you could actually wet it all the way up to the curl if you're needing to do some major reshaping, but this one doesn't need any major reshaping or anything like that, but you could if you needed. Let me just shake off the extra water. Okay. All right. Alrighty, so once it's wet, there you go. Okay. So it started out not round and here we are nice and round. Okay. Anyone have any questions? Let me see. Ugh. Bird roses are your favorites. Yeah, Pamela. And a lot of times, like again, when you're putting these in bouquets, they're going to get kind of smushed together anyway. So it's not sometimes such a big deal to like deal with some of those petals. But if you've got like flattened again, like in the shipment or something, or just one crazy petal, you can always just do this. And then if you had it, like for instance, this one, I got it very wet and you're wanting it to stay like really round, you can put them in muffin trays or like plastic cups and slide them down, and then it'll hold it there till it dries. And once the Sola flower is dry from the water, whatever shape you put it in, that's what it'll stay in. So that's really nice too. So like this one, I probably would need to, because I wet it a lot to make it stay. I could put it down in like a muffin tin. This one, remember, was pretty closed. Actually, it was kind of like this one. So this was closed and then this is open. Okay. So again, with these curled edges, what you're going to do is you're just going to use, your Q-tip to go down, and you're going to wet the insides and avoid the curls, and you can shape it how it is. But again, you're going to want to, if you got them really wet, like I got these ones pretty wet, I'm going to want to put them in something to hold them into their shape. But as soon as they're dry, they'll stay that shape. They won't like bounce back into like a rogue petal or something like that. Let me show you the bird rose one more time. Again, this was not very round. I actually had squeezed it to flatten it a little bit just for the video. And all I did was I peeled each, let me hold from the thing. I peeled each petal back and I just wet the centers and fluffed it out. Okay, Alrighty, so that's it. I think we've figured all the different things we could do to make our Sola flowers very perfect. And again, it was all of like a couple minutes for each thing. So even if you needed to do all of them to a flower, that would be like 5 minutes of time to make them perfect, because we have, you know, our dedication to really high quality flowers. So everything we send you just needs a little touch of something if it gets a little bit messed in shipping or something like that. But everything can be made back into its little perfect flower there. Okay, don't forget about our sale. It's Save 50 for 50% off of regular Sola flowers. And the Fifth Avenue and the filler is 20% off, but you don't need any code. Let me just check. Put the paint sprayer. I don't really do a lot of paint spraying. Advice about wetting the base of the petals in the past. Oh, yay. Well, I'm glad that that was helpful. And again, like even these, let's just say it was really smushed and you didn't want to go petal by petal, you could probably just tip the bottom in the water and form it and put it into a cup or something like that. But usually it's only like 1 or 2 petals that really need working with. So the Q-tips really just work for that. Or your finger. Like I said, if you can get your finger down in there and not on the curl, you could use your finger to form it and round it out. So if you have like a flat petal, you could totally form it with your finger. Okay. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed our series on how to have perfect Sola flowers and how quick and easy it really can be. Take advantage of our sales. And I will put all of these videos into a blog so that you guys can easily pull this up for when you are dealing with different flowers. So have a good night.